Hello, hello, and welcome back to City Skylines with Splatt. In our last episode, we spent some time putting together our passenger airport, and I think it's working pretty nicely. We have room to expand and improve as we want to, but for now, I think this fits the needs of our cities and meets our budget pretty well. And next, we're going to be installing our cargo airport, which is going to be a little bit smaller, I think, than our passenger airport because we just don't have that much industry in our city right now. We do want to get things laid out, though, so that we can expand in the future as we need. So let's go ahead and get started on that. So I think I'm just going to put the cargo airport on the other side of the runways and just let them share these two for now, and if we need to expand later, we can. We have a railroad spur coming off up here by the river that's connected to the rest of the rail network, and we have this little roundabout off-ramp that we've built that's going to give our industry access to the cargo hub. I'm just going to pause the game for a little bit while we work on this. The first thing that I want to do is I want to pull a road off that roundabout so that we have access to our cargo hub, and I think I just want to use a simple 4-lane road for now, and I'm just going to pull it straight off of this roundabout like that. Our rail line is going to come up here and connect into a train station. Yeah, so the train station goes off of a roadway, and the terminal has a small road that comes off of the back. And I believe that if we were to bring the rail line around, we could put our terminal in roughly this position, or do we just want to come straight and then bend it around? That is the question. Let's put it, I think we're going to go like this, and we're just going to drop it in like that. This little road back here is where the train station is going to go so that this rail line can connect to it. So we're going to go ahead and grab the train station, and that is going to go right there off the back of this little road. And if I understand this correctly, the vehicles can bring their cargo from these main cargo roads and they can go under these bridges to get to the train station. And I think that's how they do that. And then we can just grab our rail line here and just connect it up. I don't need 2 rail lines here, to be honest. Yeah, we'll just do something like that. And it can come in, and when they're ready to go, we can just bring them out this way and return them to where they need to go. And that's going to get the trains in and out, I think, pretty well. This other line we might use another time, maybe to bring down here and connect to this spur. But for now, I'm not really worried about that. We can connect over here. I think we will probably bring a line down here to connect to this spur at some point, but we don't really need to do that for now. What we do need to do is get a road connecting our terminal up. So we have these medium cargo roads and we have these big cargo roads. This is a big one and this is a medium. I think medium is going to be more than enough for now. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring it straight down like this. Actually, I don't need to use these cargo roads because I'm gonna, yeah, these are, the cargo roads are where the airplanes actually connect in. I can just use a regular road and save myself a little bit of money. So let's just grab that sucker and let's just bring it off the end here. And one of the things I do want to do, just because it kind of looks cool, is I want to put a one-way toll booth in here. No, a two-way toll booth in here, so that people who are coming and going, it looks a little bit like a security checkpoint, I think, for the cargo area, because you wouldn't just let anybody who wanted to come in and out. You'd have to have some kind of check-in area. That's not exactly how it operates, but it's close enough. And then I'm just going to grab a little piece of road. I'm going to come off here. I'm going to grab this tool, and I'm just going to connect those together using my create a curve mode. And we're just going to do that. And that looks really stupid. So we're going to take it out. And instead, I'm going to do this by hand so that we have something like that. And we'll do a little move it mod action. And that looks a little bit more useful. Okay. So the cars will come in here, they come in here, they get into the cargo area, and the airplanes are actually going to be coming up here. So we can go back to our transportation airport, and we're going to use the large cargo road. And I think I want to do something like this. And then I want to bring the taxiway down so that the airplanes can just stop at these stands. And I don't think I need a lot of stands at first. I can always bring in more if I need them later, but if I understand this correctly, that'll be more than enough stands for a city the size of Odyssey, and it's also going to be a little bit easier on our budget. So all we have to do then is bring this down like so, and just let them go back. And in order to make this work a little bit more efficiently, I'm going to connect these up the middle so that the aircraft don't have to wait for another one to get out of the way if there's one waiting for a spot on the tarmac. And I think that's gonna do it. So the aircraft will come in and land, they can come across, they can pull in here, vehicles will pick up their stuff and bring them down. They can load it up onto the train if they want to, or they can take it out onto the highway. I do want to look at this thing because I've used these before and they are absolutely insane when they drive on these things. They switch in lanes all the time and I don't want them to do that. So I'm just going to do this and this. Once you get in here, you don't change lanes, you just go straight through. And yeah, I think that's going to do it. Do I want to connect that road over there to make a loop? Probably. Do I need warehouses and things here? I just don't know enough about these airports to quite know exactly what I'm doing. I do know I need to connect this road to something so they can actually get on. So let's just take an industrial road here like this one. With the cargo train station put in, our terminal put in, it's time to see if we actually start getting any cargo. So we're just going to sit here and watch this for a while. And look, there we go. We got our first plane that just landed. Here come all the vehicles somehow magically spawning from the aircraft, and they are going to come down here and they are going to go through our little toll area. Bing, bing, bing. And they're going to get up on the highway and they're going to go where they need to go. Nice. So that looks like it's working just fine. I'm assuming because of our lack of industry, we're not going to get a lot of outbound stuff. Most of the stuff that we get is going to be coming in, but who knows? Things might spawn and go out. I see no reason why we can't crank that up to max and just, use this as kind of a cheesy way to get income for our city and help pay for this thing. So let's watch a little while longer and see if any more cargo actually comes in. So it does look like our cargo airport is working, and I don't know if this is something that I did wrong with my design or if this is just the way these cargo airports work, but I don't understand what's the point of having these other tarmacs, because every single cargo jet that comes in just lines up and waits for this first spot. And these things I think cost a bit of money to have. Yeah, they cost like 16,000 per week. So, I mean, if they're not going to use them, I guess I might as well just get rid of some of them and save myself a little bit of money. I mean, 2 seems like it's okay for now. I am just hemorrhaging cash like crazy because I just do not have the industry to support this thing. But for now, I think that's going to work. So we finished putting in our cargo airport, and the city of Odyssey is still in need of more population, and so I think I want to spend a little bit of time putting in some residential areas for people to live. What I'm thinking I'm going to do, instead of just adding in another residential area connected onto my city, I think it'd be kind of fun to have some like outlying suburban areas that aren't necessarily directly tied into the main part of the city, but are stationed in different parts kind of outside of the city limits. And so if we look, we had to buy a little bit of land for our airport. And so we have this area over here, and we have this area over here that I think would be kind of fun to build in. And I was thinking that I want to put in a little community right here by this mountainside, connected into the highway here, and just give people another place to live and have this neat little like riverfront residential community. So let's go ahead and get cracking on that and see what we can put together in order to help our city continue to grow and to be able to financially support all of this airport stuff that we're building. I'm looking at this square here that the map builder has put in full of trees, and I think this would be a really neat area to put in a nature reserve as part of our residential construction. So whatever we build, we're going to have to build around this thing here. So we're going to have a nice little road that follows along the riverfront. So we need to get rid of all these trees. And let's put in a nice roadway that is going to feed into this residential area. As this is going to be the main way to get in and out of the town, I'm going to use one of these roads with trees on it. And eventually we'll buy this all out and we'll connect it over here with a bridge, but I think that's going to work for now. We're gonna paint in our district for the nature reserve. So we're gonna go with a park area and we're gonna paint. And in order to also mimic what I've got going on in the rest of the city, I'm actually going to do a little bit of landscaping. If you see here, I've made this brush that has a selection of trees in it that I've been using to fill in areas in order to add a little bit of color to the city and also knock back some of the noise from the airport to these residential areas up here. So I'm gonna grab that brush using the brush tool mod, this thing right here. And as you can see, I've got one called Riverbank, and I've created different brushes that actually have different kinds of trees worked into it. I've got this one called Dense Forest that I've put together that has a wide selection of trees in it. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna right click, and I'm just gonna take out all of these generic identical trees that we've got in this patch. And then I'm gonna come back through using the left click button, and I'm actually gonna add some trees back in to make this a little bit more of an interesting nature reserve. And so you can see there's a lot more color in what I'm doing here, as well as some variation of ground cover and things like that. And I really like how this looks compared to some of the default trees that they've got in this map. And we'll come back in and we will put in pathways and things later, but I think that's going to work. It's a nice dense forest full of all kinds of different colors and trees and things, and it just gives a little bit more life and body to what we're doing. And that's going to be an amazing nature reserve. So let's pause the game, and I'm going to go start putting in roads to mark out where the residential area is going to be. So let me do that, and I'll come back and show you what I've got. let me introduce to you Elafi Heights. The reason I called this Elafi Heights is this originally was called Elk Park, this nature reserve, and I thought that was a nice name, so I went ahead and changed it over to Greek. Elafi is basically deer in Greek, and so we're going to call this Elafi Park because it fits in with our Odyssey theme of things being kind of Greek. And I just want to take you on a little tour. We basically have a very, what I think is kind of an organic look laid out. I wanted to stay away from grids this time and give it kind of a sweeping road system. So there's lots of curves and whatnot. There are walking paths all over the place because I already think we're going to have a little bit of traffic problems in this area, and I want to start heading that off at the pass. We are going to include some mass transit and things in here later, but for now, this is what we've got. I've also went ahead and put in some waterscapes because I really love adding waterscapes in just to break things up. I may come in and put a few more in later, and we'll come back and decorate these waterscapes and detail them out when we have a little more time. I've pretty much zoned this entire area for low density residential with a little bit of commercial around. There are two ways to get in right now. One is this on-ramp, off-ramp that goes over to the highway, and the other one is this bridge that crosses the river and then heads over to this on-ramp, off-ramp to the highway. So all of our traffic is going to have to come in that way. I do think that we need to put in a train station somewhere over here just to give rail access to this part of town. And I haven't quite figured out how I want to do that because that's going to have to require a little bit of reworking the highway, I think, just to get that to fit in. But I do want to put a train station for people to get from this part of town over to that part of town easily. Eventually we will run our buses over here and whatnot. But let's go ahead and just watch and see if anybody actually moves in. I don't think it's going to fill in right away because it's a really big area with a lot of housing available. But let's just watch this for a bit and see what happens. I've let Elafi Heights run for a little while at speed to see if we get everybody to move in, and it looks like this new little neighborhood is starting to fill in quite nicely. You can take a little look around here. I did have to add a few little amenities here and there. There was a few things that were missing. For example, I had to put a library in. Because they're so far away from the city, I decided to give them their own elderly care center, which is overlooking the river, which is kind of a nice picturesque view. I decided to give them their own child care center. And I went through and did a little bit of detailing on some of the water features that I put in just to make them look a little bit nicer. The botanical garden overlooks this pond behind it. I've got another water feature over here where I decided to use this stone walkway key wall asset that I have, and I've gone ahead and put this in with just a few trees around it just to make it look kind of nice. And then over here, I went ahead and made a tiny little park. That kind of matched the Japanese garden, which looks like it's been shifted around a little bit. I'm gonna have to fix the terrain just to make that look nice. But it matched the Japanese garden in style, and I turned this into a park, which is going to help property values quite a bit. So there's one thing that I haven't figured out yet that I want to work on is what kind of trees do I want to put on these roadways. I've used these very large, wide open avenues for the main roads going around this district, and then for smaller roads that go off into neighborhoods, I've added these median roads with trees, and then the little residential roads where the houses themselves are going to be found are just the traditional tree-lined road from the game. And I think I want to go through here and find a nice unique tree that I would like to use for this area. Perhaps something that ties in really well with this color palette that I have over here. So maybe something with a little bit of color to it. I like this peach colored tree right here. I'm just worried that it's going to be too big. Let me go through my assets and see what I can find, and I will come back and show you what I have come up with. I went around and replaced all of my trees, and I decided to go for these main boulevards here with one called just a generic fall tree number 2. I found that on the Steam Workshop, so if you want to use that tree, there it is, fall tree number 2. For these smaller avenues, I decided to go with one called a young linden tree fall, which is this one here. Linden tree young fall. So if you want to use that one, it's on the Steam Workshop as well. And then here on the smaller residential roads, I went with this one here called a shady rose bush, I believe it's called. Let me see if I can find it here. There it is. Shady red rose bush, which I found on the Steam Workshop as well. And they come in different colors. You get shady orange, shady white, shady pink, shady bush. I went with the shady red rose of all the different colors that I had available. I think it gives a really nice effect and kind of matches the color scheme that we've got from our national park, or from our nature reserve that we're going to be building over there. Speaking of which, let's get started on our nature reserve. So we're going to want to have an entrance to our nature reserve, and I imagine that's going to be right over here, right smack dab in the center of this area. So let's go into our park area. We're going to go over to nature reserve, and do we want to have a small main gate or a large main gate? I think I'm going to go for the large main gate just because it'll get us a good start. And we're going to drop one of those in just like that. So now we have our nature reserve, and that should have unlocked some more things for us to use. So let's take a look at what we've got here. We now have side gates, which is great. We've got campfires, we've got tents and all that jazz. And then we're going to have to wait for some more things to unlock once we have leveled this baby up. So let's just go ahead and start putting some pathways in. These power lines are going to have to move because my plan is to have the nature reserve actually come all the way down to the river and do some things down here to make that look a little bit nicer. So let's get rid of these power lines first that are giving power to our new neighborhood. And instead of running them that direction, let's bring them up over the top. And I think we can just run them into that. And as long as it's connected to those, we should be getting powered throughout our entire area. Okay. Let's make sure that our nature reserve comes all the way down to the river. It does. Let's just make sure it comes down into the river. Beautiful. And we're going to put a pathway in down here on the riverfront because I already know that I want to have stuff down here that is going to be fun and enjoyable for people to do. And then we're going to come through here with the Move It mod actually, and I'm going to lower all this down so it's a lot closer to the river water level. I'm sure we're going to cause all kinds of flooding, but we're just going to have to deal with it because I want this down here like that. And let's bring this down as well just a little bit. And I don't mind if it has to climb back up the hill. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to do that because I want this to be about the same height as the water level so that we can do some really neat things with water activities once this starts to develop up, and we're already going to be flooding there. All right, and then all I have to do now is take my smoothie tool. We're going to soften the terrain. We're going to set the brush size a little bit bigger, and we're just going to come through here and do this and get rid of that little cliff back there, because I'm not really so concerned about the rest of this area because we're not going to be putting a lot of buildings and stuff in here. It's just going to be a nature reserve with pathways and walkways and places for people to enjoy themselves. Okay, so now that we got that done, we can start working our pathway from here. And I think we're just going to kind of squiggle it around a bit. I think we'll have some different, let's go ahead and put in a couple of different side gates. We're going to have one up here. We're going to have one over here because eventually people are going to come in that way. And let's just start connecting these things together and just do it in a nice sweeping fashion. I'm not going to be too overly particular about how these go in. I just want to have nice, beautiful paths for people to walk in. I think it'd be kind of neat in this area. We could build like a little area for people to go camping. Okay, so we got a little camping area with some bathrooms and a couple of gazebos in case people want to have picnics and things. And this is all that we have to work with right now for things we've unlocked. So now we just need to let the game run for a little while, see if anybody comes to our nature reserve. And once we unlock some more things, we'll be able to have a little more fun. So until then, this is about all we can do. We've got that put into the middle. And once we've unlocked some more things, we will continue on with building. So let's let this run for a while and see if we can get this unlocked. Elafi Nature Reserve has hit level 2, and I added in a few more things. I've got some different camping sites dotted in around that you can see. I've added some fishing piers and some observation decks down by the river, and I think this whole neighborhood is really coming in nicely. I like the way the residential area has come in, and I like the way that it butts up against the nature reserve to give people a place to go and enjoy things. The different colored trees that we chose for the roads kind of give it a neat little look to help see where things are going, and just kind of change things up from what you would normally see in a city. One of the things that I forgot to point out is this thing is running a theme. I chose a European suburban theme, so the houses that you're seeing are going to be apparently based on European suburban type buildings. I've not spent a lot of time over there, so I don't know if this is accurate or not. So those of you who are from Europe might be able to tell me if this is actually what it's supposed to look like or not. Elafi Heights and Elafi Nature Reserve, our newest addition to the city of Odyssey. I'm really happy with it, and I'm glad it turned out the way that it did. Back here at Stemphillian Fields, I don't know what's going on. The patch notes said that they had fixed the problem with the stuttering lag when using the standard DLC taxiways, and I thought that maybe it was fixed, so I went ahead and changed everything back to the standard ones. And the lag was horrendous. I was trying to work on my residential area over here, and the stuttering and the hitches and the lagginess was just atrocious. I went ahead and put everything back to these base level game taxiways that we got before the DLC, and my game is running so much faster. I noticed that it was at least a 30 FPS difference in the game. These things here are the airplane taxiways that I think came with the just the base airports that we had before the DLC. Using these, what are they called? The taxiways that came with the DLC, it still doesn't work, at least with my city and with my setup. Maybe it's a mod thing, I don't know, but it's still laggy and stuttery, and I'm having just horrible problems with it, and I just can't use them for now. I mean, the nice thing is the airport, as you can see, clearly works when you're using the old taxiways. It doesn't quite look as good, and wherever it connects to the airplane stops, you get this weird graphical glitch, but there's just nothing I can do about it. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research, maybe go back to Reddit, look at the forums, see what's going on. I might even message the developers on Twitter with some pictures and some information and just see what I come up with, but unfortunately, that's all I can do for now. However, we are getting a lot of cargo coming in. So I haven't actually seen any airplanes going out with industry goods, and I haven't seen anybody using our train terminal yet. I think that's just because we are lacking diverse industry right now. We only have farming and we only have logging, forestry. We don't have a lot of the unique factories and things like that put in because the squares that I owned for my city didn't have oil and didn't have ore. But because we've bought some things to build these new areas, we now have a oil field and a ore field within our city's boundaries. And so I think in the next couple of episodes, we're going to start putting together more industry and see if we can become a net exporter of goods from our city and help our income, because currently we're kind of flatlined a little bit. I think we're actually just a little bit negative over time with our money. Right now we're earning money, but that's just the way that the industries work. They kind of fluctuate up and down and up and down, and I think we're spending more time in the red than we are in the green, so I'm hoping to get that done. So in our next episodes, we're going to be building a little bit more industry and getting that all put together, which is a lot of fun because I really like dealing with the oil and the ore industries, because the unique factories that you get when you start getting all those raw materials put together are really interesting and fun to build. So thank you everybody for coming along as we've put together this very simple airport. I know it's not the most artistically amazing one in the world, but it's going to get there eventually. We just don't have the population and the income to support anything much bigger because the airports are expensive, but I'm really happy with how our new area came in over here. And I really like this new housing development with the water features and the nature reserve next to it. So thank you all for watching, and until next time, I will catch you guys later.